The woman never picks up her daughter at the school gate. Every time, she makes her daughter walk to a spot far from the school before getting into the car. That day, as the woman went to pick up her daughter from school, a little boy deliberately pushed her daughter. He looked down on her, saying that she was a child from a poor family. Immediately afterward, her classmates laughed at her, claiming that her mother couldn't afford a car, and her mother, fearing embarrassment, did not come to pick her up at the school. The girl felt deeply aggrieved. After boarding the car, she questioned her mother, asking why she didn't come to the school gate to pick her up. The woman comforted her in a gentle voice and explained. She explained that not coming to pick her up at the school gate was meant to conceal their wealth. If everyone knew that she was the daughter of the richest man, then she wouldn't be able to make true friends at school. After realizing her mother's genuine intentions, the girl picked up her phone, intending to send the photo of her mother picking her up to her father. She accidentally sent the photo of her mother sitting in the luxury car to the parent group. The parents, upon seeing it, all began to shower praise on the woman. But one snobbish parent, after seeing the photo, impersonated the wife of the CEO of the group, and accused the woman, claiming that the luxury car she was riding in belonged to her husband. Subsequently, the imposter led the other parents to the car, trying to expose that the woman was sitting in her car, pretending to be wealthy. When the woman saw that the car photo posted by the imposter in the group was identical, she couldn't understand how she had taken that photo. After all, aside from the two drivers, no one else had ever touched that car, so she asked who was normally responsible for maintaining the car. When the driver mentioned the name of the other driver, the imposter appeared somewhat nervous, because the other driver was none other than her husband. She had not only exploited her husband's position to impersonate the CEO's wife, but also falsely claimed that the car was a birthday present from her husband. Then she demanded that the woman get out of the car immediately. Upon hearing her daughter say she was scared, the woman quickly instructed the driver to head back home. The imposter angrily sent a voice message, claiming that her husband was the CEO of the group, and that if the woman ever dirted that car, she would never be able to compensate for it in her lifetime. The woman was extremely shocked after hearing the message. She suspected that her husband had another wife, but her daughter said that her father's money was all managed by her mother, so even if dad wanted to find a mistress, he wouldn't have the money for it. However, the imposter still refused to relent. She demanded that the teacher immediately kick the woman out of the chat group. In an attempt to please the imposter, the teacher accused the lady of setting a bad example for the children by lying. The woman tried to retort, but the teacher silenced her. Subsequently, the imposter invited the parents to her son's birthday party, excluding only the woman and her daughter. When she heard that the birthday party was being held at the Greenfield Villa, the woman found the address very familiar. She vaguely recalled that her husband's villa in the suburbs was also called by that name. After returning home, the woman intentionally ignored her husband, while the CEO was unaware of what was going on. Her daughter, following the questions her mother had prepared in advance, asked her dad if he had done something to hurt mom. The CEO still didn't understand what was happening. The daughter hinted that today their family's limited edition car had been claimed by another woman, and that woman also claimed it was a gift from the CEO of the group. The CEO finally understood why his wife was upset. He swore right then that he would love only his wife for the rest of his life, and he instructed his assistant to investigate the matter thoroughly. To cheer his daughter up, the CEO planned to take them on an international trip tomorrow. The next day, they packed their luggage, ready to head to the airport, but their flight was cancelled due to the weather. The lady was planning to take her daughter to Greenfield Villa. Coincidentally, the imposter, driven by her vanity, forced her husband, who served as the driver, to open the door of the Greenfield Villa, so that she could host her son's birthday party. The imposter also confidently declared that the villa belonged to her husband. Unexpectedly, the next moment, the woman and her daughter arrived right there. Upon seeing the scene before her, the woman was shocked. The woman was shocked to find her family's villa occupied for a birthday party. She warned them that trespassing on private property is illegal. However, the imposter was not afraid in the slightest, and teamed up with other parents of classmates to verbally abuse the woman. They accused her of not only having stolen the CEO's luxury car, but also of arrogantly pretending to be the mistress of the villa. They said that even though she wore expensive clothes, she did not look like a member of high society. Thus, they ordered her to get out immediately. At that moment, the imposter's son berated the woman's daughter for being a liar. Thus, she was deemed unworthy of attending his birthday party. Watching as the classmates all mocked her daughter, the woman knew that it was because they often bullied her daughter at school. So the woman removed the diamond ring from her hand. She gave a lesson to the little boy who was leading the bullying of her daughter. One parent, unable to stand it, stepped forward and criticized the woman. She stated that her daughter was being bullied due to her poor conduct. Upon hearing this, the woman slapped that parent twice. At that moment, another parent accused the woman of assaulting people in someone else's villa. She urged the imposter to quickly order the security guards to kick the woman out. The woman originally planned to have the security guards verify who was genuine. However, when she turned around, she discovered that the security personnel had been swapped out. The original security uniforms had been designed by the foreign employees she had hired. She concluded that these security guards had been hired from outside by the imposter. But the other parents all believed that the imposter was the villa's lady. They all accused the woman of defaming the CEO's wife. In order to continue her charade, the imposter ordered the security guards to beat the woman. The woman immediately shouted for them to stop. She stated that the villa was normally managed by the CEO's sister. Therefore, she decided to call the sister. Let the sister prove who was the real CEO's wife. When she found that she couldn't reach her sister sister by phone. The other parents once again mocked the woman, accusing her of deliberately acting. They claimed that the woman didn't even have the CEO's sister's phone number. At that moment, the imposter said that the CEO's sister would not answer calls from strangers. Then, she dialed the number. Upon hearing the CEO's sister call the imposter's sister-in-law and wishing the imposter's son a happy birthday, the woman couldn't understand how the sister could know the imposter. In fact, it was because the imposter's husband is the CEO's driver. Normally, the CEO's sister was on good terms with the driver. That's why she answered the phone to offer her blessings. Seeing that everyone was accusing the mother of being a fraud, the daughter told everyone that the CEO's sister was indeed her aunt, but no one present believed her. The woman thought that her sister had been busy and thus did not answer the phone, so she decided to try calling again. Immediately, the imposter snatched the woman's phone and smashed it. Then, she grabbed a stick, ready to teach the woman a lesson, and she accused the woman's daughter of stealing at school. The woman, in anger, snatched the stick away. She threatened the nearby security guards to stay back. Other parents, trying to please the imposter, all accused the woman's daughter of stealing, and claimed that when the CEO arrived, he would not let them off. The woman was not worried at all. She publicly demanded that they call the CEO. The imposter, fearing that her impersonation of the CEO's wife would be exposed, immediately hinted to the nearby teacher, and the teacher, having accepted a gift from the imposter, dared not disobey. So, the teacher falsely claimed that the woman's daughter had indeed stolen something at school, and also warned the daughter to quickly confess. The daughter tried to explain, but the teacher did not believe her. The teacher claimed to have witnessed her putting the imposter's son's sapphire necklace into her backpack. At that moment, the little boy also confirmed that she had stolen something. He stated that she was unworthy of attending this prestigious school. All the classmates joined in, jeering and telling her to get out of the school. The woman knew that her daughter had been wronged, so she asked the teacher what exactly was going on. Under the imposter's threat, the teacher pushed the little girl down. Sure enough, he saw the sapphire necklace pulled out from her bag. Necklace fell out of the daughter's bag. Other parents immediately accused her of being a thief. At that moment, the woman remembered that her husband had indeed given her a sapphire necklace for her birthday. However, since she had received too many gifts, she couldn't recall it clearly. As her daughter denied stealing the imposter's necklace, the imposter demanded the woman kneel and apologize. Fearing for her daughter's safety, the woman had no choice but to admit fault. But the imposter was not satisfied and hinted for the other parents to slap the woman. Seeing this, the daughter felt heartbroken. However, the woman ignored the pain and asked her daughter why the sapphire necklace was in her bag. The daughter explained that the necklace had her mother's name engraved on it, so she put it in her bag. The woman suddenly recalled that her husband had indeed given her a sapphire necklace, which she had always kept in her dressing room, so she couldn't understand why it now belonged to the imposter. She then demanded that the imposter turn the necklace over to check for an engraving. The imposter claimed that the necklace was a top-tier piece of jewelry and couldn't possibly have an engraving. But when the teacher saw the woman's name engraved on the necklace, the imposter froze instantly, realizing that the necklace had been stolen by her chauffeur husband from the real CEO's wife. She couldn't understand why the woman's name was engraved on it. With the evidence in hand, the woman accused the imposter and the chauffeur of working together to steal her car keys and necklace. She questioned what kind of relationship they had. The imposter nervously denied knowing the chauffeur. Her son was about to say that the chauffeur was his father, but the imposter quickly covered his mouth. In front of everyone, the imposter declared that her husband was the CEO of the corporation, that the car and villa were in his name, and that the sapphire necklace had been stolen by the woman's daughter, who then had her name engraved on it. Hearing this, the other parents once again condemned the woman, claiming that engraving on such an expensive necklace had ruined it. The imposter sneered that the woman could never afford such a necklace in her lifetime. Since she liked it so much, the imposter mockingly offered to give it to her. As the woman reached out to take it, the imposter deliberately dropped the necklace on the ground. The woman, though not particularly fond of the necklace, cherished it as a gift from her husband. As she bent down to pick it up, the imposter stepped on her hand. The imposter mocked that her husband was just a poor worker, and even if she discarded the necklace, she would never give it to her. Seeing her mother's injured hand, the daughter was heartbroken. She immediately took out her smartwatch to call her father. The imposter signaled her son to knock the watch to the ground. The crowd laughed, saying that even if her father came, he was just a low-level employee and could do nothing. Meanwhile, the CEO, hearing his wife and daughter being bullied over the phone, immediately ordered his assistant to drive to the suburban villa. A parent, trying to curry favor with the imposter, attempted to drive the woman out. However, the woman pushed him, causing him to crash into a vase behind him. Seizing the opportunity, the imposter accused the woman of destroying her CEO husband's property. The woman didn't care who the imposter's husband was, but she declared that if the CEO dared to cheat, she would make sure he left with nothing. She then announced that she was the real CEO's wife. Everyone was stunned, but no one believed her. Instead, they assumed she was the CEO's mistress and slapped her hard. Just as the imposter was about to insult the woman's daughter, the woman retaliated by slapping her 3 times. She warned the imposter never to insult anyone, never to trespass into someone else's home, and never to bully her daughter. Furious, the imposter ordered the security guards to detain the woman. At that moment, the butler arrived with the security team. Being newly appointed, the butler didn't recognize the real CEO's wife. Seeing the exclusive access card in the imposter's hand, he was convinced that the woman was a fake and immediately ordered his his men to teach her a lesson. At the critical moment, the CEO arrived just in time, until they heard the CEO refer to the woman as his wife. Only then did everyone realize that the imposter had been impersonating the CEO's wife, and had stolen a luxury car and a mansion. Worried about being implicated, the teacher immediately clarified. She said that the slander accusing her daughter of stealing was instigated by the imposter. Then she presented the bracelet given by the imposter as evidence. The CEO instantly recognized that the bracelet was one he had once given to his wife. The woman also couldn't understand how the imposter could so easily steal the luxury car and bracelet, and open the mansion's front door. It wasn't until the imposter's husband arrived that the truth was unveiled. It turned out that the imposter's husband was the CEO's mother's driver. For the sake of her vanity, she had the man steal the luxury car and mansion and impersonate the CEO's wife. Unexpectedly, she was exposed by the real CEO's wife. However, the man voluntarily assumed responsibility for the theft. He explained that everything had nothing to do with his wife, but in the end, both were taken away by the police. The teacher and the other parents were suspected of damaging someone else's property. They were all taken away by the police as well. At this point, the farce finally came to an end, and all of this was due to the CEO's younger sister not answering the woman's phone call in time. This resulted in the woman being unable to prove her identity as the CEO's wife. In the end, she was bullied by the imposter and the other parents. The woman did not blame the sister either. Because she was unwell, she asked the sister to help take her daughter to school. At that moment, the CEO's mother suddenly flew into a rage. She reprimanded the woman for daring to unilaterally fire the driver. The woman was never looked upon favorably by her mother-in-law. Now, her mother-in-law had seized the opportunity to scold her. Because the driver had worked for their family for 10 years, the mother-in-law treated the driver like family and even intended to take him as her godson. Before the woman could explain, her mother-in-law slapped her. This made the CEO very anxious. Subsequently, the woman stated that the driver's theft was proven and that he could not stay in their home. Moreover, the driver and the imposter's son frequently bullied her daughter at school. Unexpectedly, upon hearing this, her mother-in-law not only refused to believe that the driver was a thief, but also thought that children roughhousing at school was normal. She accused the woman of being petty and overly calculative. Then she went on to compliment the imposter for being beautiful and gentle. Importantly, she had given birth to a son with her first child. Unlike the woman, who only bore daughters, the mother-in-law accused her of firing the driver out of jealousy. The woman defended herself by saying that she loved her daughter very much. She doesn't have to be jealous of an imposter, and had no intention of having a second child. Hearing this, her mother-in-law became furious. Fearing that the $100 billion family enterprise would have no heir, the woman stated that her daughter could also be an heir. However, the mother-in-law, who was biased in favor of sons, believed that a granddaughter was unqualified. The CEO, seeing his mother acting so irrationally, got into an argument with her. This gave the old lady an idea. If the granddaughter were gone, then they could have another son. Thus, the old lady bailed out the driver and the imposter, and ordered them to abduct the granddaughter. Watching as the CEO's younger sister sent the little girl to the school gate, the imposter promised that she would definitely carry out the task assigned by the old lady, and would absolutely never allow the little girl to appear in this household again. After the CEO's younger sister left, the imposter's husband pretended to be a blind man. He deliberately dropped his phone on the ground. The little girl kindly picked it up and handed it to him, and as a result, she was abducted and taken into the car. Seeing this, the CEO's younger sister became extremely worried, and immediately called to notify her sister-in-law. When the woman learned that her daughter was missing, she anxiously set out to search for her daughter. Unexpectedly, her mother-in-law acted as if nothing had happened. She still demanded that the woman quickly bear her a grandson. In anger, the woman overturned the table in one swift motion. She accused her mother-in-law of being disrespectful in her old age, because she had already deduced that her daughter's disappearance was orchestrated by her mother-in-law. She threatened that if her daughter was not found, she vowed that any repercussions would be aimed solely at her. After saying this, the woman hurriedly headed to the school. After reviewing the surveillance footage at the school entrance, the woman discovered that it was an imposter who had abducted her daughter. She immediately rushed to the location indicated by her daughter's phone watch. At that moment, the little girl had been taken to an abandoned factory on the outskirts. The imposter, seeking revenge against the woman for making it impossible for her and her husband to survive in this city, intended to sell the little girl for money. While the woman was in the restroom, the little girl told the man that she was very hungry. When the man heard her stomach growling, he ordered her to stay there and not to leave. When the man went out to find food, the little girl hurriedly untied the rope on her hand and escaped, but she left her backpack and phone watch behind. Upon learning that the little girl had escaped, the couple immediately went out to search for her. After searching for a long time, they found that she was hiding inside a concrete pillar. The man, upon seeing this, pulled her out from inside. While the imposter was insulting the little girl began to call for help loudly. The woman seemed to hear her daughter calling mommy. She hurriedly instructed the driver to stop the car. The driver said that the phone watch's location was in an old, abandoned warehouse ahead. However, relying on her intuition, the woman got out of the car anyway. She believed her daughter must be nearby. Sure enough, she saw the imposter holding her daughter and threatening her. She pleaded with the imposter not to harm her daughter. She declared that any repercussions should be directed solely at her. However, the imposter was filled with resentment. She blamed the woman for exposing her false identity as the CEO's wife, which had caused her husband to lose his job as a driver, and also led to their son being expelled from school. The woman was forced to kneel on the ground, pleading with them to spare her daughter, but the imposter stubbornly refused to agree. Fortunately, at the crucial moment, the police arrived in time. They shot the imposter dead and arrested the man. The woman immediately ran forward and embraced her daughter. She asked if her daughter was injured. Her daughter had fainted from the shock in her arms, but she would wake up very soon. The woman knew that her mother-in-law disliked both her and her daughter. She planned to separate from the CEO. The CEO said that he had already sent his mother abroad for a vacation, but he never imagined that his mother would collude with outsiders to kidnap his daughter. The woman did not want to bring up any more painful matters. She only hoped that the three of them could live peacefully from now on. At that moment, her daughter also woke up.